Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We are at 401 South Main Street here in Newburgh. I'm trying to think how to describe this thing. So I'm going to describe it as if you are standing facing the front door. Right now we're essentially on the back side of the house here. There's the garage door. Sorry, there's kind of a sun glare back here. There's the garage door, and there's your man door. So if you were to stand and face the man door, it's just to the left of it here. Got a 3-inch ABS clean out. So this is looking like I've come up with my own term for these. Sorry, bear with me a second here. Got some cobwebs to clear out. I call them pass-through cleanouts. I'm sure someone else has a different name for them, but essentially this is a cleanout that allows you to come into the rear endmost part of the sewer line and pass through essentially, at least as far as I can tell here, essentially the entire main line, at least potentially. In this case, I think the way this house is designed, it's got kind of a funky configuration, picking up lines from all over the place. I got a Y connection right here. I'm turning some water on a different part of the house right now. Should get some water flow here in just a second. All right, we've been underwater here for a little bit. I do have a fair amount of water running. Keep that in mind. Alright, now we're swapping over to cast iron. That very first Y, you saw me hesitate quite a bit there at the beginning to go through it. I just wanted to eyeball that thing really good before going through it. It almost looked like the line bumped to 4-inch at that point. We made a pretty much, it looked like a pretty flush transition onto the cast iron. I think we're in 4-inch cast right now. And now it looks like we've just swapped over to something else. I apologize. I may have to do a little bit of reviewing of this at home in better lighting. I'm shading my screen with an umbrella right now. There's a lot of light bouncing off the house. And this thing's got more twists and turns in it. It would appear we are in clay pipe right now. Alright, root penetration there. Got some plastic pipe that got spliced in here. Yeah, just forewarn you, we may not get all the way out. This line has got a lot of turns in it. Alright, so we got some settling there that's happening in the clay pipe. And settling in clay pipe often means something a little bit different than it does in plastic pipe. The settling in clay often is associated with the pipe joints wearing out over time. These old clay lines, the joints are grouted, and that grout slowly but surely wears out. The joints become exposed to the ground, and they start sucking dirt through them it's supporting the pipe. All right, I'm gonna stop right. I'm kind of running into some kind of obstruction right here. We just hit 3034 PVC, and a lot of times in this part of town, when that happens, you've hit the city responsibility. We'll locate here and see where we're at right now. Aha, okay, that's what stopped us up. Okay, right now we are out in the roadway. Someone's already done a whole bunch of paint markings out here locating the same stuff I am. They were using white paint. I put a green X out in the street where my camera stopped up, but it's right over the top of their locates too. The crazy part about this thing, sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I've done over 25,000 sewer scopes. It is a very rare thing to see. We're dang near halfway across the street right now. We're only about 2 foot 8 inches deep. That is incredibly shallow. Just to give you an example, the average line, by the time you're that far into a roadway, you're usually 6 to 8 feet deep. So incredibly tight tolerances to work with here. That is not ideal for grading, I mean, any sewer line, let alone one that's kind of been hodgepodge together over the years like this one looks like it has been. Alrighty. So right there, we are smack dab at the face of the curb. I put a green marking at the curb, getting around 2 foot 11 inches. The yard area or the curb's built up a little bit higher than the street, so it's a little bit deeper. Got a crack in the clay pipe right there. The joint's busted. This is one I would send over to the city. I want to say, I believe the city of Newburgh takes their responsibility back to the right-of-way. So some of the older stuff we're going through right now, I believe, is in their territory. Yeah, right now we're just barely underneath the edge of the sidewalk. The edge of the sidewalk closest to the road. I'm sorry, the edge of the sidewalk closest to the house is where we're at right now. 2 foot 4 inches deep there. This looks like ABS. You have a random tie-in right here. My camera's kind of situated sideways at the moment. That tie-in is coming in as you make your way out as flow goes on the left side, like from our visual. If you were to stare back at the side of the house the line is exiting from, though, that's coming in from the right. And from the driveway side in towards the line. I tried to put a Y marking down here to show that Y connection coming in. There's a lot of overgrown weeds there, so it's really hard to get a good view of it. You got root penetration there. A hole in the top of the pipe. That almost looks like a man-made hole. It's hard to say. There is a hole there. I just don't know if it's designed to be that way. Like some kind of old-fashioned test wire or something like that. Maybe that may be what it is. That dirt there is, or I'm sorry, that joint's allowing dirt to come through. That's a dirt stain at the top of the pipe. You got some other, they look like holes in the side of the pipe. They almost look like they were man-made and sealed up. That right there is not a straight line. That's a crack in the pipe right there. It doesn't appear to be a joint. All right, about 1 foot 6 inches deep here. You'll see an X marking. We're getting pretty close to the house right now. There's a big, huge dirt patch right up against the right side of the home. That's as you face the front door. Basically at the back right corner of the home proper, just before you would get to the driveway area. Big dirt patch there. You'll see an X marking. That's right at that transition joint. That looks like, I think you've got 4-inch clay pipe here. It's a less common diameter of clay. That looks like a flush transition right there. They ran that stuff for a little while. Usually the joints hold up. I don't know if it's the same kind of clay I'm used to seeing in 4-inch. Usually the only 4-inch clay you see has rubber fern coat pipe joints, and the stuff is often bulletproof. It lasts for forever. Get the advantages of clay pipe without having the grout as a problem, but in this case these might be a grouted one. All right, so the cast iron pipe there is clean. Looks like it's doing its job. Let me go see where the cast iron is at. All right, so we're about 6-8 feet back inside the house right now. Very shallow under the floor, about 10 inches deep. That's where we start getting into standing water. And my concern with this line here, especially with the clean out, the way that it got installed that I'm going through, these are very uncommon clean outs. Sometimes they get put in because the line is prone to blocking. And I'm concerned, in order to get everything, you know, ideally a line like this, when they're this shallow, you do everything all at one time so you can get the grade as good as possible. I am seeing evidence of blockages occurring at the top of the pipe. Right now my camera's upside down. The line, I know it sounds funny, but you would think these sewer lines always smell terrible. Generally speaking, a line that functions well just has kind of a wet, musty smell to it. This line does not smell that way. It smells terrible, like it's catching stuff constantly going to the line. So not a ton of standing water as far as depth goes, but it runs a lot of the length of the ABS pipe here. So a smaller depth of water over a longer run of pipe can have a similar effect as deep water over a shorter run. Anyway, this back in here, you are also getting some cross traffic. I think when that toilet flushes back inside the house there, it's causing some stuff to shoot backwards into the clean out. That may be accounting for why there is some of the smell there is the way it is. When that toilet flushes, part of the water is splitting and coming back towards the clean out. The other part is going the other direction. So anyway, I'm going to do some reviewing of the video at home in better lighting. I certainly recommend all the pipe on the exterior here out to the end of responsibility be updated. I may also recommend some repairs under the floor of the house. That's, I mean, for gradation purposes. Sometimes when you have tight tolerances, it requires that. After you get any repairs done, make sure a rescope is performed to check the work. And you want to do that rescope after the trench has been closed to check for settling problems. Unfortunately, I don't have access to the back part, the back left corner of the home where that bathroom is at. That's, you know, furthest from the street this line goes out to. So here's the driveway. The line goes out to the same street the driveway attaches to. And there's that man door. There's the garage. Sorry, the sun glare is terrible here. So the line shoots through this wall here into that bathroom that's kind of in the sunken down part of the house, makes a turn, and essentially it runs under the floor. It obviously zigs and zags a bit, but it pops out that wall there that faces out to the street the driveway goes out to, and then runs out to that road there. You'll see all the green paint markings out there. The stuff that's under the floor I can't mark. For obvious reasons, I can't put paint down on the floor. Anyway, watch for the report. There may be some things I recommend on there I'm not talking about on video right now.